All right, we're meeting with Kenny Bontrager, who's a principal owner of Dreamscape Creations, which is in construction. We're talking about recruiting. And so the 530 grid is pretty clear, pretty clear that it's about growing your business, right? But most people don't understand, even after we share that, but most people don't understand that it's anything having to do with people or money, it'll get more of both. If it's followed properly, it'll get better people, more people, better people. And so you have, area one marketing, how do you generate more and better leads for hiring, recruiting, vendors, anything having to do with people. I mean, shoot, churches or nonprofit organizations can do this for volunteer. I mean, it's people, money, you do this. So it's how do you identify more and better leads? Now, there's a book out there. It's called .com Secrets, probably the best book I've seen in really understanding like how do you do marketing. And so that and then Made to Stick, both of those are amazing books. If you do read any of the books that I ever recommend, make sure you're managing up and out minimum after each chapter, maybe throughout the chapter, and sharing it with myself and a couple other people. So you identify targets. Well, it's like fishing. What kind of a fish do you want to, what kind of fish do you want to catch? Then you have to say, okay, that's the kind of fish I want to catch. All right, where do they swim? And then you go ahead and say, okay, and then what bait do I use to catch them? So that's what you do. So identify targets is okay, what's my ideal avatar? Like what's my ideal avatar and what do I want? And then where am I gonna, where do they swim? So what messaging, how do I get to these people? And then once you do that, okay, now I know what kind of fish I want to catch. I know what kind of fish I want to catch. And so I know where they're fishing, I know where they're swimming. And then what bait do I use? That's the box 2, develop and deliver a message. Now, to get this message, what you do is you get your best employee, your best contractor, you get your best vendor, you get your best whoever it is. And so, in this case, it might be Kenny and Luke, and it might be, why do you love working with Dreamscape? So this comes from Tom Kuntz, and they paid somebody a lot of money to come in and give him this advice. You're getting it, just by listening. But will you do anything with it? Probably not. But why? Because you didn't pay anything for it, or much. And so what this psychologist said is you sit down with your best employee, your best vendor, your best contractor, your best volunteer, your best person, and you sit down, put a recording on the table, take them out to breakfast or whatever, and you say, what do you love about working with us? Then you record it. You ask the question, you record it. Then the psychologist said you take that, you transcribe that, and then you go ahead and even if it's grammatically incorrect, you still go ahead and do it. So that's the bait. That's the type of person. So who's the ideal type of person? Now you might have to go through 2 or 3 or 4 of these. I don't know, but that's the concept. Now this concept seems really simple to me. I mean, Tom told me once, I said, that's genius, but I've read Made to Stick. And so you ask a question and you tell a story, and so, I have a 4-year degree in marketing. I didn't learn this. Like I learned a lot of other things, but not this. And then I had to go through and read the book Made to Stick by Dan and Chip Heath. And it's like, ask a question, tell a story. I mean, that's what you do. So if you're ever doing any marketing to anybody and you're not asking a question and telling a story, you better have a good reason for it. I mean, a really, really dang good reason for it. Now, Once in a while, you might change something. I learned this when I was speaking in Nashville. Again, you didn't have to travel to Nashville. You didn't have to do any work. You didn't have to pay any money. You didn't have to make any sacrifice. So what I'm going to share with you is absolutely brilliant, but you probably won't, you won't even remember it. So I'm speaking at an event. It's a speakers event. So it's kind of intimidating. Like there's all these speakers in the room. And, this is like a group of speakers. I'm speaking to speakers. When you're speaking to speakers, it's a little intimidating. So normally I ask at the end, I say, what would be one suggestion I could do to improve? And normally people are like, Mark, you're an amazing speaker. I don't have anything, which is really sucks because I can't really learn anything when people aren't, are saying that. So, but this time it was different. I think her name was Ria. And she went ahead and I asked her, I said, she was the president of this club and stuff. I said, do you have any suggestions that, on how I can be a better speaker? And she paused and she said, Mark, you have the most amazing stories, but you can bring people into those stories by saying, imagine you're a 19-year-old boy. Imagine you're a 23-year-old young man and you're married and you're starting to have kids. So bring people into your story by saying, imagine, ... So that's pretty, those are two things. Ask a question, tell a story, or imagine is kind of similar to asking a question. I don't know if it's better or worse. The only way you do it is to try it. You just do. So then what you do is, so this stuff to me, I mean, it's a couple minutes. This is not brain surgery. This is not rocket science. You don't need a college degree to go ahead and do this kind of stuff. But it's amazing to me that on how people won't do this. Now, when we talk about tracking 100% of the leads, okay, what does that mean? It means track 100%. It doesn't mean 99%. It doesn't say track good leads. It says track 100% of leads. You want to track 100% of that's why it says it's the only box of it's not brain surgery. It's not rocket science. You just go ahead and do that. So you want to track your messaging too. What's more effective? Where are you putting it at? What time of year you're doing it? In your action vision book, you want to go ahead and let's say that, this is, 1-7 on your action vision. So you'd put all your ads in 1-7 in the binder. Then what you do is, are you advertising? Is there some months better than another month? You don't know until you go ahead and do it. So again, you're like, I don't know, Mark, this seems like a lot of work, right? Oh, it's exhausting. So, I mean, and we're barely even into, we only got this. Then we go, then you have to ask questions. So when you get something, you have to ask questions, and it's got to be the same type so you know what's working and what's not. You can't, and then it's not just asking, it's how you do it. And again, you might be like, I'm exhausted. I need to take a nap. Just listening to you. I get it. I get it. It's like this mental work is, wow, I'd rather be out on a roof on a cold day. I mean, than doing this. This requires thought. It does. Now, then what you need to do is then you need to go ahead and, so you ask questions and then you present the solution. Now, if somebody is not interested, what do most people do? They give up. Yeah, they just give up. Okay, you're not interested. Boom. Well, then you've wasted all of this effort. And you're just a meat factory. You're not interested in developing people at all. All you're interested in is, you're just using them, they're like prostitutes. I don't know what word best describes what it is, but you're not looking for a relationship. So if you're not looking for a relationship, don't expect them to look for a relationship. If you're not going to have loyalty, don't expect them to have loyalty. This is not, it doesn't work. So there's a high probability, 9 out of 10 of those are going to say no. So what do you do there? Well, then you go ahead and do a box 5, implemented 10 plus strategic strike. Now, if you have EVAs, and you have, MCAT, and you have a bunch of other stuff, this makes it easier, but it's still hard. It's still, somebody's got to develop it. Who's going to develop it? I don't know, somebody. So then you develop a 10 plus strategic strike. And if you're, just put the podcast on pause, go take an hour nap and come back. Because it gets to be more exciting or tiring. Like, dang, this is hard. Like, whoa, yeah, so then you got to go out. So you're not looking at a one and done. Like, you're not looking at a one and done. You're looking at an ongoing relationship. And some people, they're not going to be in a season of life, right, that they're ready, or maybe they don't have the experience, or maybe whatever. So you got to stay in constant contact with them. You can do this through technology. It doesn't take any more time. If you have the right technology and right pieces, it doesn't take any more time to email to 100 people than it does one person. Then you start grouping people and messages together. And so you say, this is an A prospect, this is B, this is C. Then you're measuring everything. Like, you should always have a spreadsheet, and you should always have a text document. You should always have those connected back together. And if you're like, oh, I think I want to go back and work in the factory, right? That's what I'm saying. It's a lot of work. So, now, again, we could go ahead and take, because Kenny's got, another 2.5 hours. I could go ahead and spend 2.5 hours on any one of these boxes. Like, anyone, you're thinking, dang, this guy's smart. Like, he knows. He is. And he tries to simplify it down just to make sure you don't get anything more than you just absolutely have to go ahead and make this work. So, so this stuff here, I don't know. I mean, everything seems hard, right? Until you actually do it. And then you do it, and then it seems harder, and then, I don't know, but you do it again and again and again. And over time, your mental strength improves. I mean, if you're going out and, I don't know, working out, and, somebody pushes you and then you get sore, you can barely walk. I mean, you're like, dang, like, it's the same thing mentally. Like, you go out to the gym with me mentally, and you're like, I think I'm a pretty smart person. I don't know what to tell you, but this is not hard. This is easy stuff. Just take it, but you got to be consistent. It's probably not going to work the first time you went fishing. Did you catch a fish? Maybe not. First time you went hunting, did you shoot a deer? Kenny did. Then he got addicted to deer hunting. But this season, it's not working for him. But does he give up? Does he say, you know what, I'm never going to go hunting again? No, he goes back out there. That's how this is too. Like, this is like, first time you dated somebody, didn't work out. Did you say, okay, I'm never going to date anybody. I'm never going to get married. It didn't work out. Like, I don't know what to tell you. Like, this stuff, it's hard work, but it's really not. It's harder work to go ahead and, not do this. So I don't know if this was helpful, Kenny.
I would say so, yeah.
Okay. So, talk with your Action Vision coach, and remember, there's 4 levels of coaching. And so you have the cheerleader coach, and they're the ones that'll say, oh, you're doing great. Even if you suck, they'll say, oh, you're doing great. Keep up the good work. That's like your mom or your grandma, they can do that. Oh, you're doing so great. Then you have the, analytic coach, which is the next level higher. And that's going to be somebody who's going to instruct you, like, why can't I just go ahead and be lazy? Because it doesn't work. I mean, you can work in the factory. I mean, that doesn't even work. I mean, kind of. I mean, you don't have to work mentally hard. I don't know. And then you have the, coach, which is going to kick your butt and tell you how much of a wuss you are and how pathetic you are. And then you have the driver coach, which is the Navy SEAL. That's where I like to live, in that world. People who want to grow and make breakthroughs and do something significant, but you're going to have a little bit of mental toughness, you just will. So hopefully this is helpful to you in being able to go through it. Now, again, going through, you want to have, so here's a document, and then there's a spreadsheet. This is one of the benefits of Action Vision coaching, one of the benefits of EVAs. They can help you with these things. So you go ahead and click on it, and, then you have this here, and oh, look at that. There's actually prices. So you understand, okay, this is how much this is how much this ad's gonna cost us, okay? Is that a week? I don't know. I don't know what that is, but I don't need to know, but you will. Talk with your Action Vision coach and then you have spreadsheets that go ahead and, track this kind of stuff. And so you can do that. You can do a CRM system, but you gotta, you gotta, you know, you gotta go ahead. Oh, there's the model for the next dimension and the different levels of coaching. Yep. So you got to go ahead and do this. And so it's hard developing a system. It is, but it's a lot harder long term not doing that. Any questions you have, Kenny?
No, I don't.
Right. Pretty simple, pretty straightforward. I can't wait
Right.
to have everybody read this and do this and come back and say, Mark, it doesn't work. It's like, well, let's take a look at it. Maybe it's working. Like when you plant a seed, in the ground, you don't come back the next day and say, well, that didn't work. I'll never plant a seed in ground. Like this is more like farming, not as much like fishing, which is harder work in the short term, not as dopamine hitting as fishing, but you can feed a lot more people. So hopefully this has been helpful. Thanks, everybody.